Coming off the heels of the disastrous WWE 2K20, 2K Games and developer Visual Concepts smartly decided to sit one out in order to refocus and essentially reset the series. And it's a good thing too, because the resulting WWE 2K22 is by far the most polished and freshest take on the franchise since it began way back in 2013. To be clear, that isn't to say that it's entirely free of bugs, awkward collision detection, server disconnects, and a few other long-standing problems, but most of them are under control now, and it's evident that the team truly took many major points of feedback to heart. The controls are less convoluted at the ground level, the wrestlers all look fantastic, mostly, and there are no confounding loot boxes ruining the career mode's progression. On top of that, the total revamp of the Strike grapple system is the kind of shakeup WWE 2K has been in desperate need of. As Big E would say,
"It's a new day, yes it is!"
It's clear that one of the key focuses for WWE 2K22 was to simplify what has become, over years upon years of iterations, just an overwhelming amount of systems governing the fundamental wrestling mechanics. There's no more stamina meter, no more multi-tiered life bars, no reversal stocks, no more chain wrestling minigames, no more rest hold minigames, and every character is down to just one special payback ability. That might sound like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but really, it's a trimming of fat that's paid off. WWE 2K22's wrestling feels much faster, more arcadey, and is more pick-up-and-play friendly for newcomers than ever. They're almost all universally great changes, and whatever's lost in the pro wrestling simulation department is more than made up in the "this is fun to play" department. The camera does a much better job of framing the action, commentary is much more accurate.
Snap suplex! Very nice. He's looking a little off balance. He had to be prepared to take some damage, but nobody home on that. Vicious right forearm. Kick to the gut. You went right into that turnbuckle.
And best of all, there's this giant interconnected backstage area for backstage brawls and Falls Count Anywhere matches. The one change that I'm a little torn on is the removal of reversal stocks. They were added way back in 2K16 to eliminate the problem of matches between two experienced players devolving into a contest of who misses the most crucial reversal first. It can certainly be fun to trade reversals early on in a match, but it doesn't feel like the timing window on them ever gets any tighter as the fight goes on, which makes actually ending a match against a skilled opponent exhausting because you can basically trade finisher reversals back and forth forever. At the same time, I get that there are arguments for and against reversal stocks, so I wish there was at least an option to turn them on or off to let people play how they want. The other big change to the fundamentals of WWE 2K22's wrestling is the overhaul of the Strike grapple system, which is much more combo focused than in previous years and also borrows a few mechanics from more traditional fighting games. WWE 2K22's combo system uses 3 buttons for light, heavy, and grab, and have a progression system that allows you to continue a string by pressing a button of equal or higher strength, with a maximum of 4 button presses in any combo. Pressing the highest strength button, a grab, will end the combo with whatever unique move is tied to that specific combo string. This is important to know because only the first hit of a combo is reversible. After that, you must predict what button the attacker is going to press next, and match them before their attack comes out to break the combo. If you're wrong, you're locked out and are gonna eat the rest of it. But if you can get into your opponent's head and predict their moves, it's fantastically rewarding, and an extremely good motivation to avoid falling into a pattern yourself. It's essentially like a mini version of Killer Instinct's combo breaker system, minus, the announcer yelling,
Combo breaker!
Another fighting game influence on WWE 2K22's wrestling action is a segmented special meter that you can use for a variety of offensive or defensive techniques. Spend 1 bar and you'll be able to immediately get up off the mat as though wrestling was fake or something. Spend 2 bars and you'll be able to use your character's equipped one-time use payback special move, which range from stealing your opponent's finisher to use against them, to a low blow, to the ability to spit poison mist in your opponent's eyes. If you manage to fill up the whole thing, you can execute your signature move, which, if it hits, will instantly give you a finisher charge that you can use to attempt to land your strongest move. Paybacks and signatures have obviously been part of the series before, but being able to spend some of that same resource that governs their use on a valuable defensive move that lets you get yourself out of a bad spot is a hugely welcome addition.
I'd like to officially welcome our newest recruit to the start of his WWE journey.
From a single-player perspective, the main attractions of WWE 2K22 are the career and showcase modes, with the career mode seeing the most dramatic changes. My Career, now called MyRise, ditches the linear story of prior years in favor of a much more open-ended one that lets you chart your own path through the WWE. There's a great degree of freedom here. You could start off in SmackDown as a crowd favorite, get wrapped up in a number of storylines, suddenly decide to turn heel, get traded over to NXT, and open up a whole selection of new storylines that weren't available to you before. There are also a number of smaller choices that you can make to affect what wrestlers you become friendly with, which ones you make your rivals, and what match types you'd prefer to throw down in. Compared to prior WWE 2K career modes, MyRise does much more with much less. With 3 brands, each with their own roster and titles to pursue, unique storylines depending on whether you're a heel or a face, and 2 completely different campaigns depending on whether you're a male or female created character, MyRise will keep you busy for a long time if your goal is to see everything and collect every title. Best of all, there's no awful progression system standing in the way of you customizing your character however you want. It's super easy to boost your stats and customize your look, entrance, and moveset without having to unlock anything that you don't already have access to outside of that mode. That said, the actual story content lacks the WWE's bombastic flavor. Most of the dialogue is delivered via unvoiced social media posts and text messages. There are far fewer promos and cutscenes than we've seen in previous years, and while there are a few amusing storylines, like Riddle getting in trouble with Goldberg for the disparaging social media posts that he actually made in real life, there's nothing that truly stands out. There are a handful of WWE superstars that lend their voices to the story, but the majority of the performances feel stilted and uninvested.
Okay, easy now.
Time to flip over onto your back now.
Hey, what the hell?
It's also clear that some of the voiceover recording happened during quarantine because the audio quality is kinda all over the place.
Who's ready to come out and face me? Come on, let's see what this locker room is made of.
So while the execution doesn't meet the ambition, MyRise's focus on meaningful choices and the sheer amount of content within are definite steps in the right direction. Showcase mode this time around highlights the legendary career of Rey Mysterio, which is an emotional ride that explores how closely tied he is to the late, great Eddie Guerrero, along with other highlights of his career. What's really cool about Showcase though is how it transitions between the WWE 2K engine and actual footage of matches during the big moments.
Kick to the gut. Oh, brutal.
As always, WWE 2K22 is overflowing with content, and that can't be understated. There's the customizable sandbox that is Universe Mode, the roster of more than 160 characters, to the insanely in-depth creative tools that let you create wrestlers, belts, arenas, move lists, and more. And the brand new My Faction mode, which serves as WWE 2K's answers to the microtransactions-powered Ultimate Team modes found in every EA sports game these days. It's designed like a mobile game to be a time-sinky grind, with the option to pay money to reduce that grind. Look, it's not for me, but it's off in its own mode, and none of the microtransactions find their way into the rest of the game. But the best new addition is definitely the MyGM mode, which finally makes its return to the world of wrestling video games for the first time since SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. This is essentially a management simulator that puts you in the role of a general manager responsible for either Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, and the decisions you get to make can be a lot of fun to play with. You compete against either the AI or another player over a 15-week period as you both try to beat out the other in the ratings by drafting a roster, booking shows, and managing logistics, all with a limited budget. There's a lot to consider. You ideally want faces to go against heels, your opening and closing matches to be stronger than your mid-card matches, your biggest draws to stay healthy for big pay-per-views, and that's just scratching the surface. It's a super niche mode, and truthfully, I don't know if any of my friends would ever want to do a round with me, but even just going against the AI has been a fun diversion. .2K Games and Visual Concepts needed a win with WWE 2K22, and while it's far from a complete ground-up rebuild, it's quite possibly the biggest leap forward the series has ever seen. The year off has clearly paid dividends. Virtually all of the major bugs I experienced with WWE 2K20 have been squashed. The revamped combat is faster, leaner, and full of smart tweaks that make it approachable for newcomers and rewarding for veterans. MyRise takes the My Career mode into a bold new direction. And MyGM offers a very niche, but nonetheless well put together management sim that's sure to be a blast if you can find a like-minded wrestling fan to play it with. All of this on top of an impressive visual overhaul that makes all 160 plus superstars look the best they've ever looked in a video game. It's the rare case of a marketing slogan that actually rings true. WWE 2K22 hits different. For more WWE 2K22, check out this match against the AI on Legendary difficulty. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Certainly worn his self-proclaimed grit like a badge of honor.